I came home early that night because the storm outside had knocked out power across most of the city. The office building went dark mid-meeting and everyone was told to head out. I didn't call my wife, didn't text. Figured I'd surprise her with dinner and some candles since the power at home would probably be out too. I pulled into the driveway, noticing immediately that the living room lights were on. Strange, the entire block was dark, but somehow our house had electricity. I brushed it off, thinking maybe our line hadn't been affected. Then I saw it. A car I didn't recognize parked right behind my wife's. Sleek, expensive, the kind of car driven by someone who makes promises he never intends to keep. I stepped inside quietly. The house was warm, too warm, like someone had been using the heater all evening. 2 wine glasses sat on the coffee table. One still had lipstick on the rim, but it wasn't my wife's shade. She only wore nude tones. This was a bold red. My stomach knotted. I walked down the hallway to our bedroom, and before I could even reach the door, I heard it. Her laugh. A laugh I hadn't heard in months. A man's voice. And then the sound of the bed creaking. I don't remember how I opened the door. Slowly, violently, or just numbly. All I remember is the sight. My wife in our bed with a man I had never seen before wrapped around her like he owned something that belonged to both of us. They froze. She gasped. He scrambled for the sheets and I just stood there. Not angry, not yelling, just empty. What are you doing here? She stammered as if I was the one intruding. What am I doing here? I repeated. This is my house. The man jumped out of bed, clothes half on, hair sticking up. Look, man. This isn't what it looks like. I laughed. Actually laughed. It looks like you're sleeping with my wife in my bed. What's the alternative interpretation? My wife covered herself with the blanket and started crying. But they weren't tears of guilt. They were tears of fear. Because right then I pulled out my phone not to record them, not to call the police or a friend, but to show her something she didn't know I had. A document, signed, stamped, dated 2 weeks ago, divorce papers. Her face went pale instantly. You planned this, she whispered. No, I said calmly. You did. I just prepared for the moment I knew was coming. The man looked confused. What's going on? I tossed the papers on the bed. She's been distant for months, keeping secrets, hiding her phone. I hired a lawyer just in case. Turns out I didn't even need a private investigator. My wife covered her mouth, trembling. You're actually going through with it? I nodded. Already filed. Today makes it official. She broke completely, sobbing, begging, crawling across the bed toward me. Please wait. Listen, I made a mistake. It was just once, twice. The man corrected quietly, instantly, regretting it when she shot him. A look that could have burned the room down. My wife screamed at him, then at me, then at herself. The man grabbed his shoes and bolted out the door without saying another word. But that wasn't the shocking part. Not even close. The real shock happened 10 minutes later, right when she tried to prove to me how much she still loved me. She ran into the hallway yelling after the guy who had just escaped. You ruined everything. He was supposed to forgive me. Our neighbors standing outside because of the storm heard every word. Doors opened, porch lights flicked on. People started whispering, pointing. Her entire meltdown became a show for half the street. She fell to her knees in the doorway, screaming my name, begging me to stay, swearing that she only cheated because she had felt unsupported. Because the spark was gone, because it just happened. Every excuse in the world spilled out. But I was done. There was no spark left to save. She had burned the house down long before I walked into that bedroom. I left her there in the doorway, crying in the rain, the neighbors staring in shock at the woman who destroyed her marriage and then blamed everyone but herself. I got into my car, drove away, and didn't look back once. The next morning, I packed my things while she stayed at her sister's. By the end of the week, the divorce was finalized. The last I heard, she tried to tell people I left her for no reason until someone reminded her that her meltdown on the porch was heard by half the neighborhood. Some truths reveal themselves in silence, others reveal themselves in screams. Hers did both.